Are you planning a trip to Bali and want to know what to expect? Well, this Bali Expenses video is for you.
So in this Bali travel vlog, we're going to go through food, accommodation, transport, activities, and more.
We spent 3 weeks in Bali traveling to all the major tourist destinations, and we're going to share everything we spent.
So first of all, why visit Bali?
Well, Bali is a very popular tourist destination, and with good reason. It's an absolute tropical paradise. There's beautiful beaches, lush jungles, rice terraces, waterfalls. It's an amazing atmosphere, and it's very popular with people looking for spiritual getaway. It's looking for peace and tranquility, but also it's a party destination. There's a lot of beach clubs that are very popular as well.
Yeah, and the food is amazing. So not only do you have great Indonesian cuisine to choose from, but you've also got international cuisine and really high quality as well, and pretty affordable too.
The Balinese culture is really beautiful. There's lots of temples around, and it's really great to just connect with that side of the island as well.
And the accommodation is great and affordable as well. You can get a really affordable luxury, and there's everything from hostels through to high-end luxury.
And if you want to come there from a lot of places in the world, particularly Australia, there are a lot of direct flights to Bali, pretty cheap, and so it's a really easy place to get to.
Yeah, and it's a great central hub if you want to go to different parts of Asia as well.
And Bali really has something for everyone. So it attracts a wide variety of people, from short-term travellers to long-term travellers, digital nomads, couples, families and singles.
If you're new here, welcome. My name's John.
And I'm Jay.
And together we're Bucket List Travellers.
And we've got a bucket list goal of getting to 100 countries.
We love experiencing new countries through food and local experiences.
And in a lot of our videos, we share our expenses for countries we visit. And we tend to be budget travellers, although we do splash out from time to time, but we love a good bargain.
In this Bali cost video, we're going to express all our costs in Australian dollars because we're Aussie. We'll also put up Indonesian rupiah on the screen.
So first of all, how expensive is accommodation in Bali?
Our actual accommodation costs for the room, for the two of us, range between a bit under $20 to a bit under $50. And it averaged out to be around $37 per room per night. So we stayed in a range of accommodation that was some basic hotels through to pretty decent mid-range hotels.
Yeah, I found the accommodation really good. So if you're looking for a range, depending on your budget, if you're looking for basic accommodation, expect to pay around $15 to $30 per room per night. So that will be something like a guest house, a basic hotel or a homestay, generally with no air conditioning, but maybe a fan.
So for mid-range accommodation, expect to pay between $30 to $100 a night for a room. And that would include boutique hotels, some of the larger hotels, which will have breakfast included, and also standalone apartments and studios.
And on the more high-end scale, think private villas, luxury resorts, and beach clubs. And you might even get your own private pool and expect to pay somewhere between $100 to $500 a night, or maybe even more.
If you'd like to see where we stayed in Bali, we've provided all the hotel links in our video description.
Okay, now for some general Bali accommodation tips. So in terms of the seasons, our peak season is July to August. Now, there is also a small peak season towards the end of December and early January. We were in Bali across all of December, and that is actually during the wet season. So the wet season runs from November through to March. You do get generally lower rates and it's not as busy, so you'll get less crowds and better accommodation deals. In terms of rainy season, we may have been a little bit lucky, but it wasn't that rainy at all when we were there. So it typically rains in the late afternoon and evening, but you have most of the day that's sunny. So don't let the wet season deter you.
Yeah, we didn't find that we were impacted that much at all. But I guess it really depends on how much time you have and how much buffer you have for just having a bit of a chill day when it does rain.
In peak season, our prices can double or even triple in some instances. So it really pays to come to the off season or even the shoulder seasons for the best value for money.
And in terms of where to book, we generally used Agoda because we found that Agoda had the cheapest prices. Booking.com is also widely available, but it's generally a bit more expensive than Agoda. And we tried even going to hotels directly. Often the best prices were actually with Agoda. So you can also get accommodation in Airbnb, and Airbnb is widely available for groups of more than 2 people. Like if you have a big group, then sharing a villa is a great way to save a bit of money and have a great experience. But we found that for us, hotels were generally the way to go, and you do have such a wide variety available, and they're really great quality, pretty cheap.
And if you're looking for really budget accommodation, the best options are to try guest houses and homestays.
So the island of Bali is a big area, and each different location in Bali has its own particular vibe. So the cheapest areas tend to be around Kuta, and that's more if you're wanting quite a busy area, a bit of party area. It's quite touristy and it's quite busy. It's also close to the airport, which is quite convenient. You've also got Sanur, which is a bit more laid back. It's quite good for families. It's got a relaxed atmosphere and a beach vibe. And there's also areas outside of the main beach area of Nusa Dua, which are quite budget friendly. And those are still within quite close access to the beach and have a pretty chilled vibe as well.
In terms of the mid-range areas, we would say that Ubud fits that bill. There is a wide price range in the accommodation, but it is generally a little bit more expensive than some of those other areas like Kuta. Canggu is around mid-range, but in recent years it's become a lot more popular, and so it could be mid-range or actually more towards the expensive end these days. In terms of the expensive areas of Bali, it would traditionally be Seminyak, and we found Uluwatu to be quite expensive as well.
For us, food in Bali was one of the big reasons for visiting Bali. We just loved the food there. It was so tasty, so fresh, really affordable as well.
Yeah, and that just wasn't the local cuisine. International cuisine was really affordable and such great quality as well. So in terms of the cheapest food you can find, you'll be looking at your local warungs, which are the local eateries. There's also plenty of food stalls as well.
So for our food costs, we paid around 50 cents to $6 a dish for street food. For restaurant meals, expect to pay around $1.50 to about $9 per dish. And our average cost was $6.30 per dish.
So it's all very reasonable. So one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at food, in restaurants, the price that you see on the menu isn't the final price. There will be service charges as well as taxes added onto that, and they range from 15 to 21% extra. Now, that said, it is a low base, but something to be mindful of. In the local warungs, they generally don't add on those extra costs, which makes it even extra affordable.
So the prices of food can vary a lot depending on areas. Touristy areas will obviously be a bit more expensive, as well as the type of cuisine. So if you're on a budget, we highly recommend the local cuisine.
So generally, international food is a bit more expensive, but one thing we were surprised about was how expensive Indian food was relative to the other cuisines. Consistently more expensive and very different to what we get in other countries, including Australia. It's usually a mid-range cuisine, but really expensive for some reason in Bali.
So in terms of Balinese dishes you must try, we highly recommend babi guling. So it's a Balinese spit roast pork. It's so tender, so flavorful. That crackling, oh my God, it is so delicious.
Yeah, and what I really loved was nasi campur. At the local warungs, you'll have a stall full of different plates of food, and you just pick and choose what you like. It's so great and it's so inexpensive too.
Yeah, so much variety. And if you love your fried rice or your fried noodles, look for nasi goreng, which is fried rice, or mee goreng, fried noodles.
And there's also so many fruit juices and fruit smoothies that are really affordable and really tasty. Our average transport costs in Bali per trip were $7.50 for the both of us. And we use the ride-hailing apps Gojek and Grab.
With that, our average transport time was generally around 30 minutes to an hour per trip. Grab and Gojek are the two main rideshare apps that are used in Bali, and we generally recommend that you check both because prices fluctuate between the apps as to which one's cheaper. It varies depending on the area and the time of day. If you prefer taxis, the main taxi provider in Bali is Bluebird.
There are a number of toll roads and surcharges that you might need to pay with Gojek and Grab, and they're in addition to the original price that you'll see on the app. So one notable one is the airport surcharge. So it's 12,000 rupiah, which is around $1. So it's not too expensive, but that will be in addition to whatever the price is on the app.
So other ways to get around Bali include scooters. Scooters are very popular. Now, we didn't personally use scooters because we don't have a motorbike license. And if you don't have your motorbike license, you're technically not allowed to ride a scooter in Bali, and you won't be covered for insurance if something goes wrong. So just keep that in mind.
Another thing to keep in mind in Bali is that the traffic is intense. It's crazy. There's people everywhere. There are scooters that are driven on footpaths. It's pretty intense. So if you want to drive a scooter, make sure you've had some experience, because there are plenty of examples of tourists getting injured or worse on the roads in Bali.
We walked to a lot of places in Bali. Generally, if it was within half an hour to even an hour walk, we'd walk there. And we found that walking in Bali is not recommended. It's pretty intense. So there's not a lot of footpaths. As John was saying, there's a lot of scooters that just ride on the footpaths as well. So you've really got to keep your wits about you. It's quite loud. It's quite chaotic. It's really not a relaxing experience. The exception to that is around Sanur. There is a beautiful bicycle and walking path right along the beach. It goes for a really long way. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
So that would be the only place I'd really be walking around in Bali, or maybe around the rice paddocks and the rice terraces. That's quite nice as well around Ubud.
Yeah. So if you are interested in hiring a scooter, the average costs are around $6 to $15 a day. And if you don't want to ride a scooter by yourself, but you want a local to do it for you, there is Gojek and Grab rideshare on scooters. That's even cheaper than the car.
Yeah, even for two people.
For completeness, we're also going to include our flight. So we took a one-way flight from Sydney to Bali, and that was $178 per person, which we thought was a pretty good bargain. From Bali, we then flew into Singapore, and those tickets were only $83 as well. So once you're in Bali, it is really cheap to fly to other parts of Asia. There are plenty of options for under 100 Aussie dollars.
Especially if you're looking out for the sales and the special deals.
Yeah.
And I'd say Singapore is probably the cheapest place outside of Indonesia going to or from Bali.
Yeah. And when we were looking at our Bali flights, we were looking at return versus two different one-ways, and it actually worked out for some weird reason. Booking two separate one-way flights was actually cheaper than doing return.
At least in our circumstance.
There are so many activities in Bali, and we're going to share some of our activities to give you a flavour. So first of all, Bali has amazing beaches. Now, not every beach is free, so you're going to have to pay to use some of the beaches, especially around Uluwatu. So those were around 15,000 rupiah, or around $1.50. We also did a cooking class in Ubud, and that was a lot of fun. That was $27 per person, and that went for a couple of hours.
Also in Ubud is the monkey forest, and we loved the monkey forest. The monkey forest is really one of the top things to do in Bali. The monkeys are such fascinating creatures. These ones were not too aggressive, so that was good, but you do have to still keep your eye on your stuff. And entry to the monkey forest was 100,000 rupiah. You can also pay extra to do an experience like get a photo with them, and I highly recommend that as well. So another place you can find monkeys is Uluwatu Temple, and those monkeys are a bit more aggressive. We saw a monkey grab someone's sunnies from right off their face, so be careful around there. But the temple is really a beautiful experience. You get a lot of spirituality there. It's a really scenic place as well, great for photos. And there's also the Gojek dance. Happens around sunset, and it's a really great cultural experience. So entry to Uluwatu temple was 50,000 rupiah, or around $4.50 Australian, and the Gojek dance was 150,000 rupiah, or under $15 per person.
A local that we ran into told us that he thinks there are 3 reasons why people come to Bali. 1, to get a tattoo, 2, to drink the bintang beer, and 3, get a massage. Now, we definitely fit into category 3. We loved our massages. They are great and they're so cheap. So our massages range from 110,000 rupiah through to 260,000 rupiah. That's roughly $10 to $25. So really affordable. In Sanur, we found massages for even as cheap as 100,000 rupiah. So under $10 for an hour. That was crazy.
And the luxury massages are really worth it. So definitely treat yourself to a high-end one if you can, because it is just a real experience. I went to the best spa in Bali and I just loved every minute of it. But if you're on a budget, there's plenty of free activities in Bali, including watching the sunsets, particularly from Uluwatu. We loved hanging out at the beach. There's a beautiful beachfront walk at Sanur, which is lovely. And there's also wandering around the rice terraces. That's a really great experience as well.
A few other costs to be mindful of are the visa costs. So there's a visa on arrival cost, which is 500,000 rupiah, or around 47 Aussie dollars. There's also a small handling fee as well. There's also a Bali tourism levy. So that's 150,000 rupiah, or around $13.
And in terms of visas for Bali, as Australians, we were able to get a 30-day visa with the option to pay extra to get another 30 days when you're actually in Bali. But we recommend checking online to make sure you understand the particular situation for your passport.
Now for our total costs during our 3 weeks in Bali. So it came to around $2,600, which is just so cheap. And that worked out to be around $59 per person per day. So you can see that Bali is amazing value by global standards. So you can get everything here. You can get the budget experience, or you can get the luxury experience, or anything in between. And those figures included our flights as well.
And a few general guidelines for your budget in Bali. We recommend allowing around $30 to $50 a day if you're a budget traveller, and you'll get by very comfortably on that. For mid-range, we recommend $75 to $150 a day. And for luxury, you can start from around $200 a day to much more.
So that's how expensive Bali is in 2026. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like. And if you really loved it, give us a hype as well.
And we've got plenty more Bali videos just like this coming your way. But first of all, we want to hear from you. What do you want to see next? Food vlogs, travel videos, where to stay, best areas to visit? Let us know in the comments.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other Bali videos. We are Bucket List Travellers.
See you next time.